Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and...
Is it true?
Is what true?
Are we finally doing a Warhammer video?
Oh yes, I am super excited because we are diving into...
Oh boy, I'm so excited. I always about the Blood Ravens. They are my favorite. If there's anyone that's obsessed with loot as me, it is them. They are the best chapter by far. Always looking for artifacts, always looting and finding new things.
No, not that. You imbecile. The Space Voles are the best chapter. No other chapter relishes the fighting and the killing more than me, and Lehman Russ shall lead us to victory over the Xenos filth and the forces of chaos. Guys, you gotta let me finish.
Ha! The best faction is Raven Guard, taking out the Xenos filth from the shadows with espionage, skill, and stealth.
Everyone, just slow down for a minute here. Don't you beta nerds ever get tired of being wrong? There's one alpha bro in the Warhammer universe. Okay, we're really starting to spiral. And that is Horus Lupercal and his offspring, the sons of Horus.
You traitorous filth.
You do realize they're like the agents of chaos, right? Like the bad guys. Spoken like someone who has never ascended into glorious power. Heretic. Well, we are way off track here, so let's get back to the video. And besides, everyone knows the only Primarch worth following is Lionel Johnson and the Unforgiven, not the Fallen Angels. These guys are kind of jerks.
Boo!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerd and nerdettes. Now, if you're expecting a deep dive today into the Grimdark, I am sorry to disappoint because we are 39,999 hammers away from 40,000. However, in the hands of an extremely strong archer, one may just be enough. The English archers were predominantly known for loosing death upon their enemies from a long distance with heavy-duty warbows, heavy arrows, and bodkin tips. However, there is a point when your quiver is going to run dry, and at that point, you're going to have to enter the melee, and that is where the Warhammer comes in. The hammer really was the perfect sidearm for an archer. As opposed to the sword, which took years of discipline and training to use, this was just a bludgeon. It had a broadside here, which you could use against plate for concussive force. It had a pointed end in the back, which you could hope to penetrate plate, and we'll find that out in the video as well. But it also was functional, as it could be used to help drive the archer stakes into the ground. So it was just an overall good tool to have at your disposal, relatively easy to use and learn, and it was devastating. As always, we have a litany of things I'm going to test here, starting from the lowest quality up to higher quality. This Warhammer here as well is a heavy Warhammer. There were lighter ones that are about a pound and a half. This one is a full 3 pounds. So it's really heavy duty. It's got a lot of mass to it. Therefore, it generates a lot of power. So I do feel like it's going to do some heavy work against the mild steel, wood, brigandine. But when I get up to Dequidum's hardened steel is where I'm really curious to see how it's going to perform. As you probably come to expect by now, we are going to be starting with the wooden shield. It's not retired just yet. This thing has stood up to everything. The only thing that's punched all the way through it is the pilum. And the 100-pound compound bow. So I'm going to start here, hit these spots that aren't super compromised, to see how we can do with this. So that was enough to blast through the shield very easily. It would completely destroy it. The good thing about these is they're relatively easy to pop out as well, so it's not gonna get stuck in the shield if you do in fact hit one. Obviously, the goal is never to hit the shield, but you can. And so next thing I wanna do is with a one-handed strike, as well as see what I can do, because it would be better to use this as a one-handed weapon if you had a shield in the offhand. Now Now, being a really heavy 3.5-pound Warhammer, it is actually pretty difficult to use with one hand as you're coming around. I had a few shots in here. None of them were able to make it through in the same way that the first one did with the two hands. So I can definitely see there's a setback to a heavier Warhammer if you aren't able to wield it with both. Of course, it can be done. You choke it up or anything like this, but I feel this is definitely going to shine with the two-handed approach. Falling into place next, we have the 16 gauge mild steel shield. This is mild steel, so as opposed to hardened steel, it's much more malleable. It's only 16 gauge, but that's on par with most armor, but it's not hardened, so I feel this is probably gonna punch through it relatively easily. So we had 3 strikes on this thing. One of them was right here. You can see that's through out into the back right there. So it's really punching through quite easily. It definitely bounces back. I think that's partly because of the dummy. It's pushing it back out at me. So that one punched through into the back quite a ways there. Punching through the shield and the mild steel, not really much of a problem. I think I'm hitting the dummy as well, so it's kind of pushing it out. We are definitely making some headway. This thing's holding together well, so let's keep going. Next is a 16 gauge mild steel helmet. I want to see how it does against this, and this is one I got from like a cheap place online, so this is just kind of go to show you that if you buy something that's online mild steel, you probably shouldn't wear it if you're expecting to get hit. Right here in about that deep. The other ones I took a couple shots here, and then I got one really good one right here, so that punched into it with no problem. So definitely something to consider. It's not meant for those impacts. A lot of times this was used with this side against armor for concussive force, but it's kind of hard to see how that looks without a dummy behind it, so I'm sticking with this right now just to see how well it penetrates against the different types of armor. So next up we have this incredibly embattled great helm. This is 14 gauge, so it is thicker than the other one. It is still mild steel, but it's really heavy duty. It survived a lot of arrows. The only thing that did it in was Grand. And so I'm gonna take some shots here near towards the back and the top where it hasn't been damaged too much to try to see if I can actually get something to go through that with this Warhammer. Wow, so that did a lot more damage than I had anticipated. It actually made it through there relatively easily, and I was not expecting that. I mean, I've hit this thing a lot with a lot of different things. Even my old Warhammer, it didn't do a dent. So this thing's got a lot more heft to it. But one thing as well, these are like haymaker swings, right? So in battle, you probably wouldn't get a chance to pull those off very frequently. But unless I have someone out here to like train with, I can't really showcase any sort of nuance. It's just a smashy. And so the whole goal is to show that an archer, if he's to get a good shot, can punch through some knightly steel. So now you have suffered through what Dequeedum affectionately called.
I've heard you tested some of your weapons with scrap metal.
But now we're gonna test out some of his armor here.
These parts are only 0.8 millimeter, but it's hardened steel.
This little dent here is from the 135 with 28 recurve bow, and this one right here I hammered out a little bit is from the 165 pound war bow. This one right here,
This is 1.5 millimeter hardened steel. It's not possible to penetrate these.
this is the toughest thing that I've ever shot at, and like you guys know, the only thing that made it through right here was that 100-pound compound bow with the bishop arrow. This is a better look of what the armor may be like for upper nobility and see how it fares against a warhammer. The first one we're doing right now is the Bizep plate. So that's gonna go right here on the arm. And so like you've seen, I've shot this a few times before. Never really hit it with anything just yet, so this will be the first one here. And this tip is still doing pretty good, and I'm curious to see how it'll perform. Man, what an absolute incredible difference that is. So those were about 3 strikes here, here, and here. With all those strikes right there, was not able to punch through that. That's really super impressive. Good forging there. So I'm undaunted. We are going to move on now to the 1.5 millimeter hardened steel. So this here is the knee plate. I'm gonna hit it in the back area here because this part's already damaged a little bit. And I'm gonna see if I can actually get through this thing with that warhammer. Good luck. As always, quite impressive. We broke it a little bit here. There's a small fracture in that spot, but the impacts here, here, and here, you can see those did not make it out the back side there. They divoted it in a little bit, but man, that's like a two-handed full power swing coming from me, like a haymaker swing. And even with that, I mean, you're gonna feel it for sure. I don't know how bad it'll feel, not great, but it's not going through into you. So that's just definitely a testament to the quality of hardened steel armor made by someone who knows what they're doing. Boromir here decided to take a seat. He was getting a little tired of standing and taking the damage. But we're moving on to the modern era now. And what I want to try is this warhammer here against this Kevlar helmet. So a little dented, a little bit dulled in the back there. But I'm curious what it'll do even with that. I'll sharpen it later, but for now, I just want to check and see if I can punch through this helmet.
So for that one there, we have some massive concussive impacts. You can see it cracked it all along the top there. A lot of power, a lot of damage. It actually held up in the back, so it didn't go all the way through. It diffused that impact pretty well, but I would definitely say it would not be fun to receive that. I don't know if you'd be alive, but yeah, the cracking right there, so almost all the way through, but not enough to say it's like a straight through and through kill shot fatality. How you feeling, bud? He's good.
Of course, in the realm of the modern armor, we have the modern shields. Now, this is a 6mm polycarbonate shield. I've shot this quite a few times with the different war bows. It did exceedingly well. I also hit it with the compound bow that was able to punch through relatively easy. But this is 6mm, like I said, that's on par with what most Riot shields are. Here's the same width and thickness of what's actually used. So I want to see if I can get it to go through this here. I'll figure out how to set it up and then we'll just try it out. Well, I will tell you what, this polycarbonate is some impressive stuff. The first one, I was able to punch into it a little bit. It went through the back and poked out the side just a tiny bit. The other ones were not near as good. I think most of that comes from the fact that it's dulled now. Through all the rigorous testing, this is like the end of it. But gosh, this stuff is strong as heck, man. It'd be really cool if someone could like workshop an armor out of this. Super lightweight, super durable. That'd be really, really cool. Be like glass armor in Oblivion. That'd be really cool looking and pretty functional, I would hazard a guess. Now, this video came about thanks to the generosity of Cult of Athena. They were kind enough to send me this to test, and it has done extremely well. I actually have an affiliate link for them as well. So if you ever want to buy something, they have a great distribution site from a lot of different vendors, low quality to really high quality. So check them out, give them some love if you're interested. Buy something using my link so then I get more money to buy more things to break. But this is a really cool one here. I'm excited for the future of it.